All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start right now. So my name is Ha. So I'm going to introduce you to the speaker of today, or the trainer for today. His name is Onan Chan.
Someone asks, let's say this guy's name is Danny, and he says, do you want to eat lunch or not? And Kim replied, don't want lah. And then he said, like that, okay, lo, I eat myself, lo. There, ho jabo. All right? So be very careful with the way you speak. And then this is very common. This is so very common. I was in Penang for a seminar, and I didn't drive up. I took a train up to Penang. And after that workshop, they all wanted to go for supper. And I asked one of the participants if, I said, I don't have a car. And this chap turned around and said to me, it's okay, Chan, you can follow me. Now, what is wrong with this sentence? I looked at him blankly and I wondered, how in the world am I able to follow him because I didn't have a car? So I told him to please don't drive so fast because I can't run that fast. The point is this. The way we say things give a different meaning. It says that we are not aware of it. The actual way for us to say this, what? Don't worry, son, hop in, I'll give you a ride, or you can come along with me. Okay, this is another one. So don't worry, okay, one is okay, I take my car, go. I really wonder how in the world you're able to do that. Are you really able to take your car, go? Can you do that? No. What you should be saying is, well, okay, I'll take my car. Okay? Effective writing skills is so important because why? They can either make or break your career. Studies show, and this is not just me, you can Google the net. Studies show that employers rank the ability to communicate as the number one skill needed to be hired or to be promoted. And that's why I think there are so many of you here this afternoon, you all recognize that this is important. Now, we're going to go through 3 modules this evening. Module 1 would be write to be read. The second modules, I will be going through the 3 C's of business writing, and module 3, how you can write in the 21st century English. Right. Now, when we want to write, what is the purpose of us writing? When we write, we want what we have written to be read. And effective communication is so very important. Otherwise, we'll end up like the chicken talking to the duck, or the duck talking to the chicken, whichever way you want to look at it, okay? But it is not communicating. You may be making a lot of noise because communicating is not about just delivering your message. Very important in communication would be the other person understanding that message that you want to deliver. That is so very important. Therefore, please keep in mind, okay, throughout the entire course, throughout the entire life, that when we speak, it is not just us letting off steam, making noise. Okay, I have said whatever I want to say, it is up to you. Remember, that is not communicating. That's just making a lot of noise. Communicating is to be able to deliver a message that the recipient would be able to understand. Now, whenever we write, there is this thing that I call the writing paradigm. Now, what is the writing paradigm? First of all, business readers, who are they? Business readers read quickly. They don't have a lot of time. They have too much work on their hands. Okay? They scan for key points, what we would like to call speed reading. They have too much correspondence, too many things to read at any one part of the day. And then they interpret the words. And they will ask, is it worth my time reading this piece of written article? They will have to decide. Now, business writers then, therefore, what they need to do in the writing paradigm is business writers have to write very clearly. Now, whether you're a student handing in your assignment, remember your lecturers, your professors, they have so many assignments to look at. Yours isn't the only one. How are you going to be read? How will the professor take a kind approach to what you have written? That score points for you as well. So write very clearly. Make your messages, make your assignments, your written assignments easy to read and easy to be understood. And to do that, you need to have effective writing. You must understand the subject that you are writing about. You must also understand to whom are you writing. It must be really targeted. You must be clear in your message. You must be clear in what you want to say, in what you are writing. And try to keep it as short and as brief as possible and use the correct mechanics. I will be going through this at this workshop, okay? Now, most importantly, what happens when we write? Be it an official letter, be it an official piece of correspondence, or be it handing in your assignment. What you should need to set up with is your mindset. It is you. Before you put pen to paper, before you start putting down the first word, is your mindset. Is your mind clear? Are you in the right frame of mind, or have you just had an argument with, I don't know, someone? Or did you just come home from, braving through terrible traffic jams, okay? You must have a clear mind. You must be in the right frame of mind, and you need to be positive. That is important before you even put pen to paper. And one of the things I have learned to help me in writing effectively is to be able to see the best in others. In this case, I want to be able to see the best in my professor, in my lecturer, in my friends around me. Because with that frame of mind, when I see the best in others, they will appreciate me. So having started with the right mindset, the first thing we need to do is when we want to write to be read, is why are we writing? What we are writing? What is the reason for writing? What would your message be? If you do not know what your message is, it is impossible for the other person to know what you're writing. It's a subject matter. And if you are to write a few things, what would be the key takeaway at the end of it all? If there is a key takeaway from the reader, what would that key takeaway be? And what do you want the desired outcome to be? They're not just writing for the sake of writing. There must be a reason, like I said, okay? Think, ask yourself, be sure, what is my message? What key takeaway do I want to leave with the reader? What desired outcome would I want? Whom am I writing to? You must know the person, okay? And you must know the reader. It is impossible to write to someone whom you have not met, whom you do not really know. If you don't know that person, find out about that person. And here's a little tip. Now, I do not know all of you here, actually. The only person I know here is Mr. Hart, and I've had a little brief conversation with Doreen. Now, if I were to hand up an assignment to Doreen or to any one of you, the first thing I will need to do after having set my mind straight, or even before that, was to go to Facebook to check you out. So guys, be very careful what you put in your Facebook, on your Facebook, because that would be the first place I will want to find out about you. I would search LinkedIn if you're LinkedIn, okay, on business. So I need to know more about the person whom I'm writing to. Who exactly is this person? What does this person already know? What he doesn't know? What does this person need to know? What is he looking for in what you're writing? How will this person react to what I have written? You must understand this. Okay? So like I said, again, let me repeat. Who is this person? What does she already know? What does she need? And how would you want her to react? How do you want to do that? Well, you need to organize your message. Don't go all over the place. Remember, your lecturers, your assignments, your prospective clients, your prospective customers, they have too many things to read at any one point of time in time. So organize your message. Be very clear from the start on what your message is, because nobody is going to be bothered to dig through to find out what you want to say. Okay, if at one glance and it's difficult to understand, that's what happens. The person is not going to read it anymore. And in the case of a lecturer, he will have to read it, but he is not happy with what is being written because he has to dig through your message. Be very clear from the beginning. What do you want him to do? What is your message? Are your key points clearly defined, or are they hidden somewhere in the copy? And what are you offering? What exactly are you offering to the reader? And in wanting to know what you're offering in the letter or in what you're writing, you need to know what the reader wants. And most important, your assignment, what you're writing, has to be easy to read. And you need to value your reader, the person who's going to read what you've written. The relationship is important. How important is this relationship to you? The tone and manner which you write. What is the tone that you're going to write? How are you going to write that? Are you going to write it with a firm tone? Is it going to be soft, friendly? Is it going to be warm, very factual, informative? Or are you going to be negotiated, reconciliatory? Or are you going to be very direct? You have to determine, okay, what tone and manner you're going to take in your writing. And that depends on the relationship you have with your reader and the relationship you want to develop and nurture further. The next thing you need to know is to respect your reader's needs. What are his needs? Be empathetic to the reader. Try to see things from your reader's point of view. What would be his perspective? How is he going to react? And what you want to do is to point the reader to the next step. Now, you have written what you want to write. You have told him what he wants to know, okay, and what you are offering, what you want to say. Now, what is the next step? The next step will be to elicit a response. You want the person who read what you have written to respond. If you want to say, good job, nicely done, okay, I really like what you have written, you have got an A. Okay, or the person feels fearful, it's a warning that you've written to him, or that person is uncertain and unclear what you have written. Or you want the person to take it away as something that he can use, is information. Yes, this is brilliant, I can take it with me. Now, decide, what response would you like to elicit from your reader? Is there a deadline for him or the reader to reply to you? If there is, state that deadline. Is there some way that you need him to or her to get in touch with you? If you need to do that, please include your contact information. Okay? Now, right on to module number 2, the 3 C's of business writing. The first one, not just business writing, in any form of writing, you have to be clear. Your message must be easily understood in one reading. Remember, I repeat, the person you're writing to is not just going to read your writing. He has so many things to look at, so many other things to read. And if he cannot understand what you have written in one read, you have failed. So make very sure, make doubly sure that your message will get through to the reader at one reading, because otherwise he's going to get annoyed at what he has just read because he doesn't understand, and it's open to too many interpretations. You do not want to be ambiguous. You do not want the reader to try to guess what you're trying to say to him. And before you send in the piece of writing, your assignment, your letter, whatever you're writing, analyze what you have written. Look at what you have written. What is it that you want to say? Then read what you have written. Do the sync. Is what you have written what you really want to say? Right? And the language that you use. Whom are you writing to? If I were writing to a friend, I would use certain language, a certain tone in a certain manner. But if I were writing to my lecturer, if I were be writing to my client, my prospect, I will use a different language. Okay? So remember, be very clear to get your intended message across the first time. You do not want to have the hassle, the hassle to follow up on your messages. You do not want the person to ask, can you please clarify what you have written? You want it to be clear, because following up is going to cost you a lot. Okay, not in terms of your grades, in terms of time, in terms of money. And we don't often get a second chance. Remember, if what you have written is not clear, the person is not going to be bored. So keep that in mind. Second chances do not happen all the time. Be very careful too in the transition in your writing. What I mean by transition, there must be a flow. Okay? There must be a connection. What happens after this? Why is this so? So you need to have transitions and words like firstly, and then the second part. Although I'm following this, then these are words that you will need to use to make your message more clear, to make it easier to understand. You have a transition. Now look at this. What exactly is this? This, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, this is Malus pomila. It originated in Central Asia from its wild ancestor Malus siaversiti. Whatever, I don't even know how to pronounce that word. Right? Siaversiti. It is one of the most economically and culturally significant fruits in the world. Come on, guys. We do not want to write. It's an apple. That's all it is. If it's an apple, call it an apple. Avoid jargon when we want to write. Jargon is no. Avoid terminology. Write in layman's terms. When you're doing business writing, when you graduate, when you go out there, when you're writing to your clients, when you're writing to your customers, when you're writing to your peers. Peers, maybe you can use jargon because they understand the same language. But generally, by and large, use layman's terms, okay? Do not assume that your reader knows what you know. Do not ever assume that your reader understands what you understand. Because your reader must have context. You may have that context, but he doesn't. And therefore, there will be miscommunication. This is so very important. Remember the apple. Just call it an apple. Do not assume that the reader will understands what you understand, that the reader knows what you know. Okay? Right, good. Now, the next tip in writing clearly is to organize your message, because it is so important. What are you going to start off with? What is going to be the body? And how are you going to end your message? Now, I was a copy thief for many years. And I write docs, I write articles, I write advertisements, I write scripts. And I write strategies. Now, one of the most difficult things in writing is to begin what you want to write. Isn't that so? You can sit there and look at the laptop or your piece of paper and that first word, that first sentence is always so difficult. Let me give you a tip. Before you write the first sentence, write the last paragraph. Look at how you want to end your writing. What would be your conclusion? What do you want to say at the last bit of that piece of writing? That would really help you to get started. Okay, so start with the end. That's what it means. Okay, so your letter, you want to organize your assignment, your written article. It must be logical. It must lead from one to the other. Many of us make a great mistake. Because why? You are too close to the trees to see the forest. Okay, you know what you're writing. And we assume again that the reader knows what's in our head. The reader doesn't know. So you have to be logical. And therefore, transition, like I said earlier, is so important. One thing leading to the other to dovetail into your last paragraph, your conclusion, your final takeaway to the reader. Many of us, when we write, we will flow from one point to the other, and inadvertently, we will go back to the first point and then re-elaborate. That would be so very confusing. Okay, don't do that. And the other thing, start with the end in mind and make the first point your first sentence or your first paragraph. That would really help you to organize your writing. I hope that has been helpful to you. Here's an example. Hey, Salim, I need to talk to you and one about something urgent when you have time. What is wrong with this article, with this one sentence? There's so many things here. First of all, in this example, when you say it is urgent, and then you tell the people when you have time, so is it urgent or not urgent? There is a mixture of confusion of messages here. If it's urgent, not when you have time. Then the next thing is, the recipient, the reader will look at this, the first thing that will run to his mind would be, what have I done wrong? If you receive a message like this, what have I done wrong? Where did I go wrong? So what should I do? I would say, if I were to write this, this is how I would have written it. Hey, Salim and One, can we meet on Wednesday at 3 p.m. to discuss the Hajj's proposal? I value your opinion. What happens in this way is that exactly I set the time. I do not leave it open for interpretation. There is no ambiguity. A person reading this knows exactly what I'm going to discuss with him, and the person doesn't feel that he has done something wrong because I say, I value your opinion. That is the reason why I want to meet up with you. Clear enough? All right, let's move on. I need you to help me set up the conference room and the display by noon. Can you imagine if your fellow classmates or your course mates, you have a little booth going on somewhere and you receive this note on WhatsApp sent to you. I need you to help me set up the conference room and the display by noon. I'm not sure about you, but I don't understand this at all. What does this person want me to do, right? What specifically are you being asked to do? It doesn't say, okay? When am I supposed to do this? It just says, help me to set up the conference room and the display by noon. Am I supposed to do it on my own? When do I want the display to be done? Should I go ahead or should I wait for you or should I wait for further instructions? Will others participate in the project or am I just the only one? So if you write like this, you are forcing the reader to make assumptions. Do not do that. Avoid it at all costs. So again, if I were to write this, this is how I would have done it. Please put up the Hajj's display in the conference room before 8:30 a.m. tomorrow. Nellie and I shall be there by 9 a.m. The three of us will set the room up by noon. It is so much clearer and so not open to interpretation anymore. And just for a little bit of a tickle, can you imagine if you were at a cemetery and you see this epitaph? Here lies the body of Charlie Brown, lost at sea and never found. Isn't that odd? Okay, then what is lying underneath this stone? This one, can somebody please tell me? Okay. Sarah gave a bath to her dog wearing a pink t-shirt. Would somebody like to tell me who is wearing that pink t-shirt? Anybody?
The dog.
The dog? Very good. Or was it Sarah who's wearing the pink t-shirt? Unclear, right? Why would Sarah give a bath to her dog who's wearing a pink t-shirt? Or is Sarah wearing a pink t-shirt when she was bathing her dog? So be very clear. Do not write like this. This is what I call hanging, really, really hanging sentences. Okay? Now, the next C is to be coherent. What does coherent mean? All right, for us to know what coherent means, okay, looks like you guys are not going to turn your cameras on, no worries. I will do the best I can here because this actually needs your participation, okay? Now, the word empathy is so very important to all of us. Here, very quickly, you excitedly say this. Hey, let me tell you about the car I just bought. It's a 1996 Blue Proton with a V8 at the interior, 16-inch wheels, and has six speed. And that person is looking at you and say, hey, dude, the excitement is not yours. It is not her excitement. And all she will hear is nothing. She's not interested. Okay? Because there is no relation, there is no affinity with her. And all she heard was new car. And she has a thought in mind now. But because her aunt has just bought a new car, and she bought a new puppy as well, that tore up newspapers in the car. And that transition reminded your listener, your reader, to drop off newspapers. She has gone off to Mars. She's not thinking of what you're talking about, your car anymore. She has completely disconnected with you. Don't do that, okay? Be very clear. You do not know what he does not know, so find out. Now, here's another one. Staff is now eligible for a monthly award. Work will begin next month on expanding the south parking lot. I do not know what this message is all about. Okay, now this is not a mix, this is not a made-up message. This was a message received by one of my friends from his boss. How I would have written it would be this. Staff is now eligible for a monthly productivity award. What award? For a monthly productivity award. Then what has the parking lot expansion got to do with the award? It's disconnected, it's disjointed. This is where transition is important. In addition, work on expanding the south parking lot will begin next month. Isn't that a lot clearer? The person is not going to be not going to wonder what it's all about anymore. Here's another one. The proposed solution to the problem did not work. We attempted again. It was unsuccessful. This is like writing to me in code. So when we write, again, be very clear. Now, I'm quite sure when the person wrote this, he knows what he's writing about. He understands. But the problem is he is not writing to himself. He's writing to a reader. So again, don't assume. Write it clearly. The proposed solution to stop pilfering did not work. What was the problem? Pilfering. Therefore, we tried a second solution. However, this solution was also unsuccessful. In our message, to be coherent, to be understood, to be clear, all parts of our message must fit together and all ideas must connect. Then you have a readable piece of article. Use transitional words. These will smoothen the flow of your ideas to lead one to the other, to dovetail to your end paragraph, your conclusion. Words like however, but, on the other hand. This shows that you are changing direction. This shows where you are heading. Example, I like the design of the new car, but the color is very gaudy. Similarly, and likewise, they show a thought that is continuous, that is continuing. Example, our company is paying for the conference fees and reimbursing us for meal expenses. You see, the transition is there. It makes it easy for the reader to know your flow. Therefore, consequently, even though show a cause-effect relationship, something happens that leads to something else. I volunteered to help set up the display. Therefore, I have to arrive early. Okay? Similarly, and likewise, show a thought continuing. Okay, we have done that. Sorry, this is a repeat. And to be coherent, this is just an example. It was Father's Day, and my son gave me this cup. Okay, is it coherent? Instead of saying Happy Father's Day, and he sends me a cup and says, "Hey, Dad, I'm the best son ever." Okay, right, cool. Okay, but that's my son. This is just to let you know that if you want to be coherent, don't do this. Right, the third C, what would the third C be? Is to be complete. We need to be complete. When we are complete, again, I want to emphasize this. Know what the reader already knows, does not know, and need to know. You must know what the reader already knows, does not know, and needs to know. Then you can be complete. Here is one. Just a reminder to sales managers that our monthly Friday meeting will begin as usual. Be sure to bring your latest sales figure and come prepared to discuss the 3 products mentioned last week. This person who wrote this, obviously the boss, has assumed that the reader knows what he knows. But the reader does not know what he knows. As usual, if I were a new manager, if I were not in the last meeting, when they say as usual, when is as usual? Please do not use words like this in communication unless the person really, really knows what as usual means. What time? Where? How long? Which Friday? You said mid-Friday. You are assuming that the person will know that it is that Friday. And you're talking about the products. Which products? What are the 3 products? And you want to discuss. There's no agenda. What are we discussing? Okay, so be very clear. Be very, very clear. What is your one takeaway to be complete in the message? When you write an article, when you write a letter, when you put an assignment, what is the key point or the key points if you need? Let that be very clear. Decide when you write, what are the key points or the one takeaway? What would the impact be? What impact do you want? Do you want to encourage the other person? Do you want to motivate that person? Do you want to convince a person? Do you want to get a person interested in what you are doing or to collaborate with you? Okay, do you want the person to be excited? Is it an article that will make him a bit more thoughtful, to think a bit deeper, to give him hope? It's a hopeful piece of article to console him. Is it something you want to write to give assurance, to comfort, or to instill fear? What impact do you want from your writing when the person reads it? What would be your pertinent information? Okay, again, what he already knows, what he needs to know. Now, to do that, you need to understand what does the reader need. Does he need to have some background information or not? Was he privy to the previous discussion? Was he involved in the previous negotiations? Was he involved with the previous discussions? If he were, how much would he know? And if this person were not, then you have to take that into account, into consideration when you write, because he was not there at the previous meeting. Okay? Keep that in mind. Be very clear. And do you need to have substantiation when you say something, when you hand in your assignment, when you cite a piece of study? I'm sure you all know that, especially when we're out there in the business world, when we are writing, when I want to make a claim, when I want to make an assertion, do I need that to be substantiated? What would be my substantiation? Have I cited those things? Do I need to include attachments? Are attachments even relevant? Be very careful. Many of us, they just love to give attachments. Here it is, please read it for yourself. Okay? If you really want that person to know what is in the attachment, you would not tell the person to please read the attachment. You would then highlight the points in the attachment and attach it for his further perusal and reference. Okay? Do not fall into that trap. But ask yourself again first, are these even needed? Some of them may not be needed. You are just attaching and closing too many things for that person. He looks at it, he gets scared, and they say, oh, good grief. Okay. And then lastly, do you need to have a call to action? When you're writing a business article, when you're writing something in business correspondence, is there a call to action? What would the call to action be? Are you asking the reader to make a decision? Are you asking the reader to give you an approval or to give you support in your program or whatever is it that you are endeavoring to do? Or are you asking the reader to endorse or to perform an action, to do something? You want him to follow up on an activity, on an event, or is it only for information? You need to understand, again, is there a call to action? So the key point, what is the reason, the response, and the impact you want from that person? Have you given all the pertinent information? Have you given needed substantiation and attachments? And here I say needed. And have you included your call to action? This will make your article complete. And bear in mind, AAY, okay? When you write, does anybody know what AAY stands for? Anyone? Okay. AAY is all about you. When you write, whether it is to your lecturer, to your assigned, to your friends or to your clients, to your prospects, to your bosses, keep in mind that when you write, it is not about you. It is all about you, the other person. Okay? When you have positive feelings towards people, you are happy because you see the good. Again, when you write, be happy. Look at the positive sides of people. Any questions thus far? Am I going too fast for all of you? Am I okay? Okay? Because I don't get any response from here. I can't see. I'm looking at a lot of names on the black screen. Right, very good. So we have covered the first two modules. Now we come to the last module for this little workshop. How to write in the 21st century, in 21st century English. Now, I would like to give you a few tips that will help you to write in plain English. First one, brevity. Now, I purposely use the word brevity here for a naughty reason. Why do I want to use a word like brevity when I can just say short? This is to remind all of us, do not use big words. Okay, brevity is not a word I would like to use. I'm using this for a reason to show you that some people will say brevity, what in the world is that? See, I have failed. I should have just put there, keep it short and simple. So brevity is a big word. And by showing off, don't show off with big words. Okay, so don't use words like brevity. I'm doing this here as an example to show you. Right, but actually, brevity, keep it short, keep it simple. Okay, keep it straightforward. Make it easy to understand. Targeted at the appropriate reading level. Know the reading level of your reader. Okay, will you be able to understand the words that you use, the expressions that you write? Okay, understand his comprehension level. And by all means, please, unless you are writing your assignment to your lecturer on your coursework, if you are going out there to write to your bosses and to your colleagues and to your customers, avoid jargon, avoid cliches, avoid technical language as much as possible. Again, we just write in plain language.